Thanks everyone for coming to our next webinar in the vertical series. This one is on retail, and Ross will be going through some insights that he has very kindly gathered together about the vertical. So I'm going to hand over to Ross. I'm going to open a Q&A, so any questions, please answer as we go along. There's also a couple of Slidos that Ross has done throughout the webinar to kind of get you answering some questions as well. So I'll hand you over to Ross.
Thanks, Courtney. Much appreciated. Yeah, as Courtney mentioned, there will be some Slidos available. So get your mobiles at the ready with a QR code scanner up, and we can get some feedback from you throughout. Let's keep this interactive. So I've been given the task of talking to you today about retail, and it's one that I've had a bit of experience in recently. But I thought what would be useful is to really go back to the beginning. Why are we talking about verticals? It's great that we are vertical focused. It's great that we've got a portfolio that supports you in approaching certain verticals. But let's take it back to why verticals? We're in a bit of a point in time at the moment where the job that we're doing selling telecoms into businesses is changing. So go back 10 years, go back 8 years, it was very much conversation around cloud migration. Let's take you from your on-premise PBX to a cloud product, to a cloud platform. And let's be honest, we've all been very successful in selling that technology and selling that story and getting businesses to understand where the benefits of moving to the cloud are. But we're now quite far down that road. So actually, we've all been doing that. We've all been selling that now for the last 10, 12 years. So what we've started to find is actually the market is not at saturation point, but certain elements of the market, certain kind of the SME sector especially, is nearing saturation point of hosted VoIP solutions. Cavell recently released some stats on the market, and they said we're now at the tipping point. So actually, what we'll see is as many migrations from hosted solutions to hosted solutions as PBX to hosted solutions. So the story needs to change slightly because everybody's moving to hosted. Everybody is, or a large part of that market has already moved from hosted. So we need to be more more thoughtful about who we're targeting and what the messaging is. It might not be as successful now to be a generalist. And what we're finding is actually those partners of ours that are specializing on a certain vertical are building credibility within that vertical, are seeing more success because they can target that section of the market, that particular vertical, to really build a reputation, build credibility, and be seen as the specialist within that vertical. So my vertical that we're talking today is retail. Let's start off with a Slido. If you'd like to get your phones at the ready, scan that QR code, enter the passcode, which is the very bottom DWC SQ8. And we'll get some initial kind of feeling on, do you view retail as a lucrative vertical? I've got a few options here. We've got, no, it's just 1 or 2 phones per site, isn't it? Or it's okay, we can sell both connectivity and voice. Or yes, it enables us to sell voice on the back of our managed network services. How are we feeling? Oh, there we go. That's the 4th one. It's jumped to the top. Yes, but Ross, please tell me how I can make even more revenue. That's the one we're hoping you're going to click. I'll give a few more seconds just to get a few more answers in there. There we go. You don't have to click that one because I told you it's the one I wanted to click. But hey, the people have spoken. Excellent. So let me tell you how you can sell even more. So what we've been looking at recently, and I think where verticals really come into their own, is not just looking at voice. Yes, voice is what Evolve IP provide. It's at the core of everything we do. But actually what we've done around that kind of core voice functionality is we've built out a portfolio of complementary solutions. And you'll all be very well aware of what these solutions do. And I'll run through them in a minute. They're on the left-hand side of the screen if you want to take a look in blue. But what where we're finding more success is when we start talking about ecosystems. So within the retail ecosystem, voice is a part of it, yes, but actually as a reseller, as an MSP, as a telecoms provider, if you want to target a vertical, you need to look kind of outside of maybe your core technology stack. Yes, we do voice very well. We know it like the back of our hand. But if we're going to target retail, then we need to think more about what that wider ecosystem looks like. Because what we don't want to be doing is going into a retail business and trying to sell a siloed technology. Yes, we love our voice services. Yes, they're incredibly robust, incredibly resilient. But actually, where we really offer value is with the API stack that sits in the background. So the level of integration, because if we can integrate our voice services with the rest of the ecosystem that you would find in a retail environment, it's going to make us much stickier, and it's going to enable us to offer more value to that business than just selling a siloed technology. And I've kind of tried to diagram this out slightly here. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the services that we could be talking to retail clients about that currently sit within the Evolve IP portfolio. We've got contact center. We've got ERP system or CRM integration. We've got push-to-talk decked headset solutions. Snom offer some really nice functionality that we can provide you. We're a Snom Gold partner, and they've got some great solutions that fit that retail space really well. At the kind of the higher end and the more bespoke elements, we've got intelligent IVRs where we can build in the ability to get a order status by entering an order number. That's not off the shelf, but look, we can build it if it's something that the customer is interested in. You all know the handsets that we can provide: SIP, DECT, voice over Wi-Fi, and anything that you need to cover that retail space, we've got in portfolio from a handset perspective. Conversational intelligence. Now, really in the background, we're talking about call recording here, but with the new features and functionality that we're being offered from Dubbo around the moments, we can start to flag abuse calls or complaint calls. We can start to use that information gathered to build out a wider kind of holistic view of what's happening within the business. The same with the analytics and reporting. And the important things to note on both of these is that, yes, we can build out the analytics, we can build out the reporting and the conversational intelligence, but also we can use those APIs to take all of that data, look at it in a more holistic view. We'll pull that through into something like Power BI or Tableau, and you can start to build a holistic view of what's happening in the business. Probably not one to talk to end customers about unless you want to, but flexible licensing. So for you going into retail customers, the licensing is all flexible, right? So if it's a seasonal business, if it's a seasonal site, we can talk about, okay, we can turn those licenses off for that part of the year. We can turn them on, or we can scale them up for your busy periods of the year. Audio help points. Banville has some really neat little two-way audio help points that we can deploy if that's of interest. We've got all the low-cost options like the Essentials license, the Dartone license, which might fit a retail environment better than a fully stacked license. You might not need a full basic or standard or premium license in a retail environment, because from a handset perspective, it just needs to ring. International numbering. So actually, we are now breaking out of the UK. So if you're talking to the larger retail outlets, they may well be international. We can support you in that. And then rapid API deployment, which is something I'll get onto in a minute. But that all sits within the existing Evolve IP portfolio that you have access to. So we're not just talking a couple of handsets in a store. We're talking about the whole ecosystem that makes up that retail experience. Then you've got the kind of portfolio or a whole range of retail focused technologies that sit outside of our portfolio. So security systems, CCTV, smart building, IoT solutions, wireless networking, guest Wi-Fi, captive portals is a big one in retail. Retail and food and beverage. If you've ever been in Brewdog in Waterloo and tried to use your discount codes, you have to jump on the internet. There's no coverage in there, so they force you to join onto the captive Wi-Fi portal to take your details, to give you access so you can then get your discount on the beers. It's a very good method of capturing customer data and understanding more about how people are consuming your products. Smart displays, footfall analysis tools, there's a whole load of technology that we don't provide, but it's stuff to consider if you want to look within that retail vertical. Back to Slido, and this is really just out of curiosity. So out of all those lovely non-Evolve IP products, what do you guys currently have within your portfolio that could complement a retail vertical approach? We've got connectivity, we've got wireless networking, we've got guest or captive Wi-Fi portals, smart displays, CCTV. There we go. This is a multiple choice as well, so you can select more than one option. Four answers. Any advance on four answers? There we go. Whilst we're talking about this, the whole kind of benefit of looking at the vertical as more of an ecosystem is that you don't have to lead with voice. Evolve IP would love you to lead with voice, don't get me wrong, but even if you get one of those products within the retail company, it enables you to then go back in. Once you've got a foot in the door, you can go back in. Okay, well, we do your wireless networking. How about we look at your security? How about we look at your smart displays? Voice, what do you do for telephony? Getting one of those products in there then leads to that much wider cross-sell. And again, that's very much where a lot of our partners are focusing at the moment is, yes, new business is great. New logo is fantastic. We need to still grow the business organically, but hey, we've got tens, hundreds, thousands of customers sat there. What can we go back into those customers with and sell even more of? The nice thing about retail is that there's typically lots of sites, and that's not true for everyone. Obviously, you get your more bespoke outlets, but typically you will find there are a lot of remote sites, and then maybe a head office. I mean, head office is usually where the magic happens in terms of contact center, customer service, accounts, anything else that you might want to look at kind of within that core business function. But it's very difficult to take head office first, because especially if you're migrating from a PBX, you'll typically find that the PBX sits at head office. That's the core of the business, and all of those remote sites are kind of hung off that core central system. So it's very much a gradual migration, and that's what we've seen with a lot of our partners, that it's a gradual migration. So I've kind of broken it down into 4 stages. So acceptance, you need to sell the deal, you need to win the deal, you need to kind of gain agreement that, yeah, everything's going on our chosen platform, Evolve IP, obviously. Build it out as an enterprise. So we can start to build out those multiple sites. You can have an entire enterprise that covers the national or the international deployment. And then build yourself a template. Typically, you'll find retail sites will be very cookie cutter. So they'll look very similar. You'll have either maybe a large site or a small site, and build out a template to make your lives easier. Once you've got that template, new store openings and migrations become a lot simpler. And then integrate. So the beauty of Evolve IP is that, yes, we have a fantastic hosted platform that you all know and love, but actually we provide SIP trunking as well. So we can do this in a gradual manner. We deploy a site, we can connect into, or we can integrate with that core legacy PBX spyware SIP trunks. So you can have that two-way communication between the remote sites as you're gradually migrating them or new openings. But there's still internal communication available because we've hooked into that legacy PBX via SIP trunking. And then the final migration, once all your sites are migrated, now's the time to migrate HQ and any CCaaS or customer service teams that sit within that. So we try and kind of create stages to make it as simple as possible. Get the acceptance, create the templates, integrate with existing infrastructure, and then migrate the core. If there's any questions, feel free to shout out. Don't wait till the end. Another Slido. Right, this one is more around engineering. So as we've just said, retail is typically made up of lots of remote sites. So the question to you, do you have sufficient internal engineering resource to deploy, let's say nationally and internationally? If not, would you consider outsourcing to a third party? Your options are, yes, we'd keep this all in-house and rack up some air miles. No, we don't, but would consider using a third party. Or no, we don't, and wouldn't be comfortable giving platform access to a third party. We've had 5 answers. Any more for any more? Fantastic. Okay, so we've got 4 of you who've said, no, we don't, but we would consider using a third party. And we've got 1 that says, no, we don't. And you know what? We wouldn't feel comfortable giving platform access to a third party. That's absolutely fine. Let me take you on a bit of a journey about a project that we've done recently. I'm not going to name any names. If you were at our partner day, you would have heard a little bit about this. But I just want to kind of show you the art of the possible with Evolve IP. The challenge in this instance was, how do we seamlessly build and deploy 1,200 users across 500 sites internationally using third-party engineers whilst upholding security and mitigating risk? Now, it's a big thing to be giving enterprise level access to a third-party engineer that is not part of your business. And I imagine there would be some people that are not comfortable in doing so. And this was very much the challenge. Not only are we using third-party engineers, we're using third-party engineers internationally that we may not know, we probably don't know, and we are very much wanting them to build out, deploy hardware on site, assign it to the correct site. How do we do that? How do we do that securely? The solution was to do that via API. Evolve IP earlier this year, finally released our Anywhere portal. Our Anywhere portal is built on a very impressive stack of APIs, which gives us the ability to, or gives you the ability as a partner, to utilize those APIs, not just for the typical integration where we would talk about APIs, but actually use them to deploy. So what the partner in question did was use those APIs to actually build out the config. So they were able to create sites, hunt groups, call queues, users, regions with appropriate time zones, assign the correct language packs to handsets, assign the correct phones to groups, automatically sign users into call queues, all via API. And we're talking 456 sites were built, created, users, regions, all via API call. Really, really impressive. But that still left the question of, right, but how do we give engineers access to that, the on-site deployment engineers access to that, without giving them the keys to the castle? So what they did was they built an engineer-facing GUI where they could log on, they could enter the site reference, they could enter the MAC address of the handsets, and that would assign that handset to that correct site without them having to have access at all to the Anywhere portal. That enabled them to deploy via third party, securely, mitigating all of that risk. And again, if this is something that you have the ability to do, we didn't build the portal, they built the portal, they have the skill set internally to do that. But if that is something that you would like to explore, get in touch with your account manager or your Reliant SC, and we can look at those APIs and kind of tell you what's available to you. You can then take those and do with them as you wish. Moving on, I'm going to focus on some of the value adds that you could be talking to retail customers about. And it's the old adage: if you can't manage it, you can't manage what you can't measure. This is very true in retail, especially where things like Trustpilot scores really depend on that level of customer service. So answering all of the calls, calling people back when you haven't managed to answer those calls, and without having visibility of that, it's very difficult to manage it. So being given centralized access to business insights and analytics is key. Again, we're talking about APIs. So anything that we can build out from an analytics perspective, we can extract via API. You can then take that information, sit it alongside other business metrics, get a more holistic view of what's going on. You all know at Kixie, I don't need to go into great detail about this, but 3 of the reports that I thought were quite useful. Centralized reporting. So if you look here, we've got an example of a multi-site deployment, 6 stores, what's going on, how many calls, how many are missed, SLAs, how quickly a call's being answered, all of that lovely, rich information that you might want to see from a central location. Abandoned call alerts. So again, this really sits around that Trustpilot piece. How many calls are you missing? what level is your kind of customer experience at? And this being real-time dynamic, you can filter this down into individual sites if you wanted to, or you could just look at it from a whole enterprise. And then what workforce optimization. So this report here, it's been around a while, but it's a very useful report. So what we're looking at here is calling patterns. So when are our busy periods? You would expect busy periods to be when the store opens, you're probably going to get an influx of calls. But actually, are people that are on site busy opening the store, getting displays ready, doing all those things that they should be doing, rather than answering the phone? Do you then maybe need to have more people within the business during that time? Do you need to push calls during those key times to head office? Again, without the visibility, it's difficult to make those management decisions. So all around the analytics is looking at what's happening and then enabling you to make decisions off the back of that. The Slido. So as a consumer, when making a card payment remotely, would you rather read out your card details aloud over the phone whilst a cashier types them manually into a PDQ, be sent an email link pushing you to a website and enter the reference details and card details yourself, be sent an SMS link to do the same, or have the cashier use a secure integrated payment platform enabling you to silently and securely type your card details in using your keypad whilst continuing to speak to the agent throughout the transaction. I'm sure we've all been there when you are paying for something over the phone and they go, no problem at all, can I just take your card details? And you can hear them typing it into the machine whilst you're reading it, or they grab a pen and paper and scribble them down so they can enter them later. Gone are the days where that is acceptable. If businesses are taking card payments, and I'll jump onto the next slide in a minute, they need to be adhering to the latest PCI DSS regulations. They have just changed. They are a lot more stringent than they used to be. Fantastic. 5 for 5, that's what we were hoping for. Let's go on to a nice secure call slide. So comply and protect PCI. Technology that helps you safeguard your staff. So there's two ways of looking at this. We're safeguarding the business because by adhering to the latest PCI DSS compliance regulations, we are mitigating audit failure, non-compliance by removing card details from scope. That's really what PCI DSS wants us to do. It wants us to remove all of that from scope. So we're not even dealing with card details. If you're not dealing with card details, then you don't need to worry. We need to make it easy to deploy, easy to use. This is going to be cashiers, sales staff, not necessarily contact center agents. So the key thing about Secure Call is anybody can have it. Anybody within the business can have it. If you've got an extension, you can use Secure Call. It doesn't have to be a contact center agent. We've made it available for all. It needs to be simple for customers. There's a lot of PCI DSS solutions out there where it sends you an email or it sends you an SMS. Personally, I'm not a fan. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing to answer an SMS, to then open a website, to then type in the amount and type in the card details. It's a lot to have to do. If I'm talking to somebody on the phone, I'd rather do it there and then. It's very much about safeguarding employees. You shouldn't be putting employees in a position where they are exposed to confidential card payment details or data. A lot of retail staff, especially, are going to be young, are going to be whatever. But if you can safeguard your employees by removing that data from their access, then it's better for everyone. Mitigates damage reputation to non-compliance. If you have a massive PCI failure and there is big fines around it, it's going to damage your brand. On the flip side of that, if you phone up a retailer and they follow some really nice secure processes to deal with your card data, it gives you that nice warm fuzzy feeling. You're going to want to engage with that retailer again. And then payments your way, so tokenization and pre-authorization. So if it is something where maybe you need to leave a deposit, it would give you the ability to do that via Secure Call as well. So on the subject of comply and protect and safeguarding staff, we can also then start to look at call recording and the conversational intelligence. If you haven't seen Dubber Moments already, get in touch with your account manager or SC to get an overview. Highly impressive stuff. Essentially what Dubber have managed to do is really refine how we analyze call data. So historically, what we do is we transcribe the call and we'd be looking for keywords. We would type in the keywords ourselves. We would build out a list of keywords that we want to look for. Double's taken that one step further, and they've trained the AI bots in the background to look at the context of the call. So we're no longer just looking for individual words or phrases. We're looking for a context, the intonation, what's happening within that call, what's happened, what didn't happen. There's a whole load of different moments we can look at. I've picked abuse because it kind of makes sense if you're trying to safeguard your frontline workers, or if you're contact center workers or customer service workers. You need to know what they're having to deal with. And abuse is rife. People on the end of the phone are more bold than they might be in person. So this is very much kind of insights for employee wellbeing. So gaining valuable insights into your employees' challenges. What are they struggling with? What are they having to put up with over the phone? Victim support. Not everybody wants to put their hand up and say, you know what, I was uncomfortable with what happened on that call. If you can gain that information automatically, it removes the person having to do that. Can't think of the phrase I'm looking for. Risk mitigation, safeguard your organization from potential legal consequences, improve customer relations, and again, data-driven decisions. So this is all stuff that we can start to layer on to provide a better customer experience, to safeguard our staff, to look at that whole ecosystem. And then the personal touch. I quite like this one. So a handset can be more than just a communications tool. They can be an extension of the corporate identity. This very much comes down to white labeling handsets. We've had a few partners already do this for some retail customers. It's brilliant. We do this via SNOM. So if you deploy SNOM handsets, as you see on the left-hand side there, we can actually print the customer's logo onto the handset. So in retail, especially where these are located throughout the store, it's just nice to build on that corporate brand. There's 3 levels we can offer. We can print your own logo. All of these are subject to a minimum order quantity depending on what you want. But own logo, so we can brand up the phone with our own logo on the screen. We can brand up individual buttons if you wanted to. Or if you were going the whole hog, you can actually have the casing and the receiver built in your own brand colours, which is quite a nice touch. That brings us to the end of the presentation. So given what I've just presented, can you now see more value in retail as a lucrative vertical? Your options are yes, ready and raring to go. Yes, but it would be useful to have a deeper dive on some of the technologies you've shown. Can my SC get in touch, please? Or nope, still not my bag, but thanks anyway. How many people are still listening? Ready and raring to go. Look at that. 4 answers, that'll do it. A quick recap and kind of highlight the key value proposition here. So sell the ecosystem, not the siloed technology. If you go in just talking about voice technology, it's going to be a tougher sell than understanding the wider ecosystem and how you can either sit within that, integrate within that, or sell more of it. Sell more of those products that fit this vertical, not just of our IP. Yes, we want you to sell us as your voice core, but how do we integrate that into the wider ecosystem? Template, integrate, migrate. I'm making it sound very simple there, but if you follow those, don't try and do the whole thing at once. Get new openings, just get a couple of key stores, and then you can work your way back through that estate, finishing off with that head office. Deploy intelligently. So we spoke about APIs today, but actually the new bulk upload tools within Anywhere Portal are highly impressive, and we can start to build in some more functionality. If there's stuff that you want to add into that bulk upload tool, have a chat with the SCs, and we can see if we can build that in. Data is everything. And that goes for all verticals, but retail especially. Knowing how your consumers are wanting to consume, knowing how they interact with you and how they want to interact with you is absolutely key. And then by taking that information, looking at, right, what are our success markers? Are we hitting those? Are SLAs being met? And you can sit that alongside the other business metrics and really build a picture of what success looks like for your business. Comply. Remote payments are now more secure than ever. Continue along that. Secure Core is a great product. It's easy to sell. There's a compelling event there. We've priced it competitively. We've priced it simply. So we should be having conversations with those around Secure Core with the vast majority of customers that we're speaking to. And then safeguarding frontline workers, whether that is PCI, by removing their access to sensitive data, or whether that's looking at the conversations that they're having. Are they suffering from abuse? Is there anything we need to do to mitigate that? Any questions? No questions so far. Courtney, have we got anything in the Q&A?
No, nobody seems to put anything in the Q&A. So I think that's it. Thank you very much, Ross. That was really, really great.
You're very welcome.
We have 2 more webinars coming up. We have a hospitality one next week with Ollie, one of our solutions consultants. And then we have our financial and legal webinar on the 21st, next Wednesday. Probably should have written that date down, with Rich. So
23rd.
That's it, 23rd. Thank you very much, Jen. So you can still sign up to those via our website, and we'll also be sending out some emails as well if you have lost the link. And thank you all for joining.